Hi, my name is Drazen and this is the LocomotionFix V6 Showcase for desktop. Half body and full body will follow later in this video. First off, this is the new preview animation we have included into the version 6 release. And let's get straight into desktop. So in desktop you will notice a sort of slight different behavior. We are forcefully overwriting the foot IK of the chat. This is so that you can use more poses during standing, because LocomotionFix version 6 is labeled the pose update. And that means if we are opening the locomotion controls, that if we go into poses, we can switch between different poses on the fly. The logic is supporting 8 standing, 8 crouching, and 8 prone animations, of which we have filled usually 4 or 5 for you. That said, one major change we included is the ability to use disable locomotion in desktop now as well. As you can see, I really dislike how doing proning, how she's trying to crawl around. It doesn't fit the sitting pose she has right now. So I can simply turn on disable locomotion and now I am just stuck in my pose. The same goes, of course, for crouching and standing. Newest feature we included is floating. Floating of 25 is considered we are on ground and nothing is active. If we are entering float mode and say 33%, you will see we are in the air. And during floating, all types of movement animations are disabled as well. You can, however, of course, go into crouch and prone in the air, and you will simply float at all times. We can, of course, increase the value to ridiculous heights, and this is meant for small avatars, like a tiny furry of mine. But you can, of course, go even under the ground as well. Keep in mind for under the ground that your head is forcefully put above ground by the archet at all times, so it will break your pose. To disable the floating feature, you just hit disable float, and it sets the value back to 25, meaning you are on ground. Don't be afraid to hit the button multiple times and the value is changing to 0. It is made so that the floating feature only gets enabled if you are not on 0 and not on 25. With that, the desktop functionalities are done. And we will switch over to half body. See ya! And here we are to the half body part of the LocomotionFix version 6 showcase. I'm just going to show a general behavior and all the options you have now. So for once, like always, you have movement animations for standing, crouch and prone. And now comes the first change already. We enabled the disable locomotion feature for half body as well, meaning if you activate it, your avatar will simply be stuck in the idle animation it has of all 3 states, and you are just sliding around. Then, of course, we still have the stationary mode, which forces your avatar into a certain animation and doesn't allow any movements from sticks or like rotation of the avatar. You can still look around and so on, and it will try to sort of match your lower half with the upper half. Stationary mode is compatible with our poses logic, meaning you can have a lot of poses in there, 8 in total. And this doesn't only count for crouching, it does count for prone as well, meaning this is the laying on back animation. You're supposed to be laying on your back before entering that. Laying on the side, and 2 which are a little bit like you're resting on the side but still have your head upright. So Let's go out of here. Let's reset my play space mover, because now we're coming to the newest feature, which is the floating mode. Floating of 25 is considered 0, meaning you are on the ground internally, so floating is disabled. If you are going, if you're opening the slider up and adjusting the value to, like, let's say 35, you will notice that your avatar begins to fly. During the time you have this slider open, the LocomotionFix will try to readjust your viewpoint 10 times per second. And that's why you can see it feels slightly jittery. And my avatar behaves like a little bit irregular. As soon as you are closing the slider up, you do that by pressing the trigger, you will see everything is getting buttery smooth again. So during flight, floating, you don't have any movement animations. You will always be stuck in the idle animation the avatar has. Floating mode is compatible with stationary mode, meaning, let's just enter stationary mode again, pick a pose. I can say, hey, I want to float differently, like higher or lower. Even into the ground. One thing you have to note, if your head would go into the ground, your player model will have its head above the ground, despite you being under the ground. That's a limitation I can't do anything against. So let's leave stationary mode for now. If we are wanting to disable floating, meaning we don't want to float around in the air anymore, we simply hit disable float once, and it sets the floating value back to 25. Again, 25 is considered we are on the ground, we don't need to float. Don't be afraid if you hit disable float another time now, that the floating value gets to 0. The logic is considering that, hey, if I press this button multiple times, it doesn't mean that I have to go into the ground. So in technical terms, to enable floating, you have to have a value which is not 0 or 25. And with that, the half-body part is done. I wish you much fun with the LocomotionFix, and see you next time. This is the full body part of the LocomotionFix version 6 showcase. There haven't been any changes actually. It's just like before. You have movement animations. As soon as you go below a certain height with your headset, which is about your lower rib cage, the avatar will cancel set animations out. Because we can't assume like, are you laying forward, are you laying backward? We have no idea, and to sort of compensate for that, we are just not doing anything. So, of course, you can use the disable locomotion functionality to disable locomoting at all. Personally, and I say that as the locomotion creator, by the way, if you don't want to have any movement animations while being in full body at all, don't use a functionality like disable locomotion and so on. The Archer has it built in by now. You can see it in your settings that you can turn off locomotion animations. And just click that, and your avatar won't have a locomotion layer at all when you're in full body. This is sort of a better solution at this moment, as of now, as I am aware. So you are of course free to use our functionality, but if you don't want any animations at all, period, during FBT, consider using the VR chat functionality. So, and this is it with the showcase. I wish all of you much fun, and see you next time.